Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Because what are we doing? Not paying attention to our breath so much. Like, our lack of awareness of the breath is incredible. Continuous breath awareness. That's it. That's the practice. It's such a key one. Continuous breath awareness every single moment of the day. That's the aim. That's beautiful, right? Coming back to the breath as often as possible throughout the day. Wow. Try to do that while you're watching this video. Just be continuously aware of your breath. You can still be engaged and watch and listen to me, but keep the awareness on the breath. Today, we're going to talk about balance. I don't have much to talk about, but what's present for me at the moment is balance. Like, what does balance even mean? What does it mean for me? What does it mean for you? And in what ways can we explore this topic? How do we kind of like find the middle ground in this pendulum that is swinging from one side to the next all the time? Once we're getting into one extreme, the other time we're getting into another extreme. What's the balancing point? What's the point of balance in our reality? What's the value of it? What's the reason for it? It seems to be such a key feature of reality. And hey, Kali and B, good to see you again. Before we jump in, let's, as always, sing a song. I can't play the ukulele today because I did cut my thumb yesterday while I was cooking. So I have a rattle here. I don't know if that's good with the microphone, but let's start with a song. So gathering the flowers, flowers from the forest, forest full of medicine to help us with our healing, healing of our bodies, body, mind and spirit, spirit of the water, come wash over my heart. My heart is growing open, opening each moment is a miracle that's calling us together. Gathering the flowers, flowers from the forest, forest full of medicine to help us with our healing, healing of our bodies, body, mind and spirit, spirit of the water, come wash away my tears, tears of joy and crying, crying for my people, people we are ready, ready to be free. Free to be new people, beautiful, empowering each other to come together, gathering the flowers, flowers from the forest, forest full of medicine to help us with our healing, healing of our body, body, mind and spirit, spirit of the water, come wash over my tears. Shoo, shoo, shoo. I could sing that for hours and upon hours upon hours. I love that song. Such a good one. I haven't been able to gather too many flowers. That's actually a passion I would like to explore more, which is a big part of today's conversation as well. I have so many passions that I haven't really taken the space or time to explore and cultivate and develop, because I've been caught up in some other priorities or self-set goals of mine. So that's that's an interesting one. Gathering the flowers, identifying what's actually growing right in front of our doorstep, and seeing like, this plant we can eat, this we can't, this will kill us, and just explore all of this kind of territory, identifying the mushrooms and the forest and all the medicine that nature provides us with. Kali's saying, I want to ask you a hard personal question. Yes, no personal question is too hard to ask. Feel free to ask anything in the chat. Kusan, what are you doing in this live stream? Like, what are you, aren't you working right now? Balance. What is balance? What is balance? I have thought about this recently and came up, or tried to come up with a very short, concise definition of what balance means for me. And what came out of this is kind of two variations. One is the practice of cultivating harmony within and around by aligning thoughts, actions, and emotions with wisdom, embracing paradox, and finding peace through the middle way. Another phrasing is, balance is the dynamic practice of harmonizing opposing forces and aligning thoughts, actions, and emotions to cultivate wholeness, stability, and flow, while embracing life's paradoxes and natural rhythms. So, I was talking to my coach today. By the way, if you're curious about coaching, I do offer one-on-one coaching. You can book a free one-on-one call with me to talk about that. Link is in the video description. I was talking to my coach today about these definitions. Now, what does it mean, this cultivation of harmony? Okay, harmonizing is a key word in that exploration of balance. And for me, I would say the first thing that came up is, as I've been noticing and observing in the last couple of days and weeks, maybe even month, I noticed within my being a little bit of tension. There's an imbalance. For me particularly, it was overly, or still is overly, focusing on work, not leaving space for rest or enjoyment. And there was something in my being, that told me energetically, kind of like, you're out of balance. This, what you're doing right here, it doesn't feel like it's in harmony. So our first clue, I would say, is sensation of alignment, a sensation of harmony. And what are the characteristics of that harmony? I would say, for me, it's a peace. As Kali is saying, having a peaceful life. I'll come to your question a bit. An equanimity, an open-heartedness, lightness, like you're a sensation, like you're like dropping off what you're carrying, the big bag of all these thoughts and doubts and worries that you're carrying on your back all the time, leaving those off, like a relaxation, a release. And from that there is an opening of equanimity, peace, silence, maybe even a slight joy that is arising. All these are kind of like connected, I would say, and characteristics of balance. And balance comes from what I figured today in today's coaching session, like from a clarity, an understanding of reality, a recognition that basically it comes from an aligned perspective. That's kind of like the foundation, that the recognition that we are free to choose a perspective. So this overemphasis on one side or the other is kind of like caused by an imbalance of perspective. A voice in our heads telling us that we should or should not do something. And these thoughts like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. Like certain constructs and concepts and stories that we tell ourselves are pushing then our emotions in one direction, which leads to our action going into one direction. But that is coming from an overlying perspective that we hold about our life situation. So to reintegrate a sensation of balance, I have found the first step is to be aware of what perspective we are holding on reality. Get the clarity around that. Understand your present state of perspective on reality, because that's causing the misalignment. That's causing the imbalance. First of all in your thoughts, and then also in your emotional state and in your actions. And then there is this crucial step of recognizing that you are free to choose a different perspective. That's why I love coaching so much. That's basically what a lot of coaching is around. It's shifting a perspective. It's creating and discovering a perspective that feels more aligned, that brings about a greater sense of clarity and understanding into your life, into your current situation, which then shifts the energy from this catabolic draining down energy that is keeping you stuck and that is just not feeling good, that you're not enjoying, into a more anabolic state, we might say, an uplifting, moving forward kind of energy, where you feel inspired, motivated, energized, right? I'll come to your comments. Kalimbi is saying, I have started to work in banking, but the job is so draining and time consuming. I don't want to give my life to corporate life. What can I work so it's not stressful and can work from anywhere and also enjoy it? Having a peaceful life seems kind of hard in this stressful corporate world. Well, that's a good question. First of all, I would start the inquiry into your... Well, I can't answer that question for you, just like based on these statements. But from what I sense is like why did you start that banking job? Like, it might have been money, but is that in alignment, like, with what you want to do with your life? And I guess the second question of what can I do so it's not stressful and can work from anywhere and also enjoy it speaks to this topic of basically like creating a vision for your life. The foundation for me personally was to discover my passions, see what I am passionate about, what I am good at, what I enjoy doing, and what the world needs, where I can provide some value. And then bringing all those together. There's a beautiful concept, it's called Ikigai, I think, from the somehow eastern side of the world, from Asia. I don't know if it was Japan or something, where you find that sweet spot between what you're good at, what you're passionate about, and what the world needs, what you enjoy doing. So that's where there is an opportunity for you to basically make money doing what you love. And for me personally as well, it was a characteristic of, okay, I want to be able to do it from anywhere in the world. And then you got to just explore your opportunities. And for the time being, if your goal is still to survive and make money while you're building up that thing, crafting a vision, discovering your passions, and then trying to monetize them basically, it's understandable that you might have to do another job on the side. But yeah, it can be a corporate job if you enjoy that environment or if it supports you. But if it feels like it's draining all your energy and your time, then I'll just have to say it's not necessary. That's coming also back to the point of balance, you know. Nothing in your life is necessary. You don't have to do anything. You do not have to do anything. That's a fundamental shift in perspective that I did. It's a perspective that feels aligned for me. Is I want to do stuff. So I, for example, want to live in this apartment. I want to eat good food. And for that, I might need some money. And if my passion and what I love to do isn't providing me with that resource of money, then I want to find a job that's enjoyable. Maybe not my life purpose, but is enjoyable and is maybe providing me with a sense of joy and a sense of growth and learning something, which I can do part-time to support myself. And so my standards of living are also pretty low. And so I can have that while basically crafting my vision and work towards that vision of living a life that is completely in alignment, being able to work from anywhere in the world, doing what I love, doing what I enjoy doing, and having a peaceful life. So yeah, it's a choice. It's coming back to this sensation that it's a choice, I would say. It's a choice that you do. So and by complaining about your life situation, you're basically giving your responsibility away. Responsibility, literally meaning your ability to respond to your life situation. You know, so taking back your responsibility for your life is the first step that I talk over and work through with all my coaching clients as well. Taking back your responsibility for your life situation and then seeing how you want to create that life situation in a way where it feels aligned for you. For me, that meant I was working as a waiter in a low-paying job in a tiny restaurant for 8 years. That's what I did, you know. Sometimes full-time to save up money for some travel, sometimes part-time, on my business. It says that my audio is disconnected, or my OBS is disconnected. Oh, reconnection successful. Beautiful. Am I still here? I think so. I hope so. I hope my I don't know. I don't know if that camera is working. Yes. Okay. I'll try. Otherwise, I'll have to say bye for now and leave it at that. But I think we're still here, huh? Good. Okay. So, yeah. That's the foundation. Take responsibility for your life and create the life of your choosing. Thank you, Isaac and Kali for saying that. Hello, Gabriel. And then basically the second step for creating the life of your choosing is to get clear around your values. That's been a huge point, not just around your vision of what kind of lifestyle you want to live, what you want to do, what you're passionate about, and how you want to serve the world, but also around your values. So what's truly important to you? If you feel that sense of disalignment in your life, that sense of imbalance, that might be an indicator that you're not living in alignment with your values. And if you're unclear around your values, again, that's a wonderful opportunity to discover your values, work those out by asking yourself some questions regarding this topic. What's truly important to me? A value is basically just a word that you, like a label, a word, a concept, and you basically, as I did with the balance in the beginning of this video, that you describe and define for yourself. So, as I said, I defined balance, which is one of my top 10 values now, as the practice of cultivating harmony within and around by aligning thoughts, actions, and emotions with wisdom, embracing paradox, and finding peace through the middle way. That's important to me. So, yeah, you ask yourself some questions like, what's truly important to you? There's some more exercises that I go over with my coaching clients, where you basically craft a list of values. Not too many, but like dial it down to 5 to 10 values and get really clear and specific on what those words mean for you. And then you have basically a blueprint for your life. You're like, okay, because my top 10 values, it's like they have guided my life for the past 9 years immensely. And basically happiness and fulfillment and also balance is coming from you living in alignment with your values, from you living in integrity with what's truly important to you. So, for example, my values are truth and love and health and connection and service and self-actualization and adventure, simplicity, humor, balance. I think those are my 10 at the moment. I shifted some recently, and I shifted the wording and the definitions recently. But then and you list them out and you prioritize them as well to say like, okay, the most important thing for me in life is truth. The most important thing, second most important thing is love. The third most important thing is health. So that's then your blueprint for your decisions. To say, okay, is this job that I'm doing, is this activity, is this decision that I'm taking now, this next step that I plan, this travel, this relationship, this friendship, anything, is this aligned with my top values? If there's a value disalignment, then obviously you would feel bad about it. And then it's on you, your responsibility, to kind of find ways to take action and slowly shift and change these situations or get into communication to create a life that is aligned with your values. Yeah, what else? Having a vision and values. That's basically it. And then it's just about, I guess also just like your internal set, your mindset, and developing certain characteristics on your path. And you can play around with those, but there's a few that I found really support me on this journey. I was eating a piece of ginger. That's spicy. Nice ginger lemon honey tea. A couple characteristics that have helped me to basically realize my vision and live in alignment with my values is 100% commitment. Committing 100% to my values. And then being fully engaged in life. 100% engagement in life towards this commitment. And this commitment carries a deep determination. That kind of like fire that burns within you. Of like you really have to like want it. You have to almost like, I don't want to say desire, but desire it. You got to desire truth, because the truth for you is to live in alignment with your highest values. That's authenticity. If you value authenticity, if that's something that resonates with you, if you value alignment and fulfillment, then you shall desire that and do everything you can to just strive towards that and like integrate that in your life. So this determination, this fire, this passion. I want to shoot a video about passion. I recently learned the root of that word, passion. It's such a buzzword to do what you're passionate about, but I figured out the etymology of the word passion. It means actually to suffer, to endure. So when you follow your passion, be ready to suffer. I have gone through deep suffering recently. I'm just coming out of one of those, like, there's like peaks and valleys, highs and lows. I am just like slowly emerging out of a low. I think last week's live stream I talked about just I want to leave everything behind and quit everything, and I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. Because it's all too hard. But be ready to suffer. Also in psychedelic space, it's if you're passionate about psychedelic space, about engaging in psychedelic work, like there is an inherent suffering in that process of repeatedly shedding your psychological skin, repeatedly entering into these realms and opening up to them, surrendering into them. That's a couple other characteristics that I have found are contributing to this sense of balance as well. It's an openness to life, to every experience that is emerging, to every appearance, every situation that you find yourself in. The foundation for me is an embrace of that. Like not a closing off and a resistance, because that leads to stress and tension and judgment, but more like an openness to experience and an embrace of experience. And then also a subtle sensation of surrender and letting go into that experience. And the embrace of paradox here is that we can surrender into a moment, we can completely surrender and let go into an experience or life situation, be open towards it, and still work towards our determination and our commitment of living a life that is even more in alignment. Got to see what motivation works for you in your specific situation and way of life at the moment. If it's motivation of moving away from pain or moving towards a greater alignment. I prefer towards a greater alignment, or like a sensation of moving from abundance instead of lack. But for some people in some life situations, it can also help if you're like in apathy or in lethargy and in a victim mindset, to actually cultivate some anger. Be angry at your situation and say like, I don't want this. And then you move from that force of anger and of judgment into responsibility and then maybe service and opportunity. So you got to see which motivation fuels you for your specific life situation. Kali is saying, so I should go to therapy or get a life coach like you. You should not do anything. If you want to, I guess a therapist or a coach can be a great support. I haven't tried out therapy. I want to try it actually very soon. But I am getting coached from more than one coach, and it's fantastic. So if you feel called for that, then do that. But also there, in working with other people, still don't forget the responsibility. The responsibility for your life and for changing your life still lies in your hands. Nobody can do it for you. Nobody can do the work for you. Nobody can take action for you. Nobody can define your values for you. Nobody can do anything for you. People can support you, like a therapist or a coach, and facilitate this process of self-awareness towards more balance and an anabolic state of energy. But nobody can live your life for you. So don't expect a therapist or a coach or a mentor or a teacher to solve your problems, basically. But you got to still be aware that the responsibility lies on you. Coraline Ice, hello, good to see you, is asking, why do people have bad trips on mushrooms? I want to try it one day for the experience. I heard people say it sucks and others say it's amazing. That is a fantastic question and not so easy to answer. Why do people have bad trips on mushrooms and psychedelics? There is many... It's hard for me to speak about it because there's so many nuances and approaches from which, and angles from which to approach this question. So one cause, not the sole cause, but one cause for some people, not for all, is, I would say, and that's a very common one, is the intention and the preparation or lack of preparation for a psychedelic experience. So oftentimes, for example, at festivals, I see it a lot. People are pressured into doing psychedelics because their friends are doing it. Here, take this, take this. Then they are not informed about the substance they are taking or the dose they are taking. And then there is not an understanding of the possible effects of what can occur and the changes in consciousness that can occur. And so this lack of information and this lack of understanding about a certain substance and this naivete of just like jumping into it can lead to a shocking surprise of the radical shift that is happening in your own consciousness. And then basically a reaction is being triggered of okay, I don't want this. This is not what I signed up for, because they didn't know what they signed up for. They were not prepared. They didn't even had an intention, and maybe even the intention for going into the experience was not an authentic curiosity arising from the depth of their heart. I think this is a good foundation to have for any psychedelic experience. An authentic curiosity arising from the depth of your being, from your heart. When you have that, I think that's a wonderful foundation, because then from that foundation on you can build this characteristic of responsibility again, to choose to consciously go into such an experience, being prepared, being informed at least a little bit around it, and approaching it with care, with a safety protocol, and actually doing some kind of preparational practices that then you reduce the risk for a psychedelic experience to go bad. Because what's bad? What's the only thing that's bad about a trip is if you judge it as something you don't want to experience. So that resistance is then creating a situation where you're like, you want to escape an experience that feels uncomfortable. You're not opening to it. You're not surrendering into it. You're not letting go into it. You're not even trusting it, maybe. And then you want to escape it. But you're in the experience and then you can't escape it. And then that whole loop begins of you resisting the experience. And that's a terrible situation to be in. What people might call a bad trip. So, yeah. That's why also people may be saying like it sucks because they haven't approached it with enough maturity and responsibility. That's what I love to talk about here on this channel. It's like the responsible and mature approach on working with psychedelics. So like basic things like looking at set and setting, informing yourself about the substance and the dose, and actually doing some preparational practices like self-inquiry, contemplation, journaling, being in nature, meditation, that can help you to that in that process, and also developing those characteristics that can help in the journey itself of opening up, trusting, surrendering, letting go. And not resisting any experience. But that's just one layer of it. Some trips are just bad for other reasons. Maybe you are well prepared. Maybe you have an authentic curiosity, and maybe you did all your preparational practices and you've even cultivated some of these traits that I mentioned. And there's still a potential. There's always a potential for a bad trip to arise. A distinction that many people in the psychedelic community love to make is a bad trip and a challenging trip. Some of my most traumatic and intense experiences have been challenging trips. For example, I remember an 8-gram mushroom journey. 8 grams is not a dose that I recommend for beginners. That's also start slow, work your way up. But that 8-gram mushroom journey, it was not a pleasant experience. I was paralyzed. I was meeting this alien lord that was humbling me, and I almost vomited and shitted on my friend's carpet without being able to move. And it was a very humbling experience, but I learned a lot through that. Actually, that's an example of where I didn't even know what I learned out of this. There can be a resulting state of confusion. But I wouldn't say that was a bad trip. That was a okay trip. But then there were ayahuasca experiences, for example. In my first 14-day ayahuasca retreat, I was humbled to a point where I was kind of vomiting on myself. I was completely out of my body, and I was facing the fear of death. I was in an experience of dying. And I was scared shitless. It made me aware of my fear of death. But that was one of the most transformative experiences. It was one of the most challenging trips, but I wouldn't call it a bad one. Even though in that trip I was even saying I will never ever do this again. This was the last time I touched psychedelics. That's how intense it was. And for me to say that's quite a statement, I would say, because my whole life and purpose is kind of resolving around that topic. So in that experience, but still I wouldn't call it a bad trip. It was one of the most transformative experiences because it brought my fear of death into my awareness. Again, if you're resisting that, if you're not ready for that, if you then resist to have that fear of death into your awareness, it stayed for a year afterwards. I was constantly fearing death and sickness or being run over by a car or whatever. It's it was a great opening, I would say. But then the task of integration becomes to adopt a perspective that is aligned and that helps you grow and that helps you integrate that learning and actually align deeper spiritually to say okay, thank you for that experience. Now my fear of death is at the surface. Now I can consciously work through that. So one of my top goals for that year was to look at and work through that fear of death consciously. Inform myself about the Tibetan Book of the Dead and everything. And it was just a wonderfully challenging trip, but not a bad one, I would say. But then there's trips that are that could be labeled bad. I don't know if I've ever had a bad trip, because it's obviously it's also a label you give to an experience. I would say no experience is inherently good or bad. It's your interpretation of what you give that experience. But let me think of a bad trip. What has been a bad trip? There has been very irresponsible use. See, it's very hard for me to say what a bad trip is. But there's trips also where you can lose control. It's you are prepared, maybe you're a psychonaut, but never expect that you can handle what will unfold in the experience. Psychedelics have a wonderful way of humbling us as individuals. And some experiences are they are throwing you in for a loop. You can be stuck in a loop and really not coming out of this. And some experiences I remember have been just physically tough. For example, a 5-gram mushroom experience I had, I was just vomiting the whole night or the whole day. And I didn't get any insights. I didn't get any experiences out of them. Or there were experiences where a friend was spiraling out of control, like smashing my TV screen, destroying my furniture and running around naked. That's a bad trip like it's in the books. I learned a great deal out of that experience, just observing him and how a bad trip like that can unfold. But yeah, I don't know how his integration went with that experience. I haven't really talked to him about it. That was something like a bad trip, and some people, yeah, some trips, they just suck. It's not every trip is a great trip. And also people react differently. Not every mind is suited for a psychedelic experience, I would say as well. Or not everybody is in the right place in their life to be engaging in deep psychedelic work. So yeah, bad trips can be exactly that, just bad. I think it was Terence McKenna. I loved that video clip of his. I think you can type into YouTube Terence McKenna bad trips or whatever, and there's a clip. And he said, bad trips are bad, you know, and bad. What was it that he was saying? Oh man, let me look it up. He said, bad trips make bad sex look like no problem. And you know, that's true. It's such a statement. So bad trips can involve like you being outside and being, yeah, I don't know, losing consciousness, getting into sketchy situations, hurting yourself physically. There's lots of dangers, and I would say we could label that and judge that as bad, but again, it's a distinction because there's always an opportunity for learning, obviously. But also people have died, you know, or killed their friends because they saw a demon coming out of them. That might have been like a bad trip. I don't know. So yeah, the only way, I guess, to find out for yourself is always just a direct experience. So approached with care, low doses, and then experience it for yourself. Don't form. I don't like to form opinions or beliefs about anything based on what I've heard from other people. Like one person can like this, one other person can not like this. Like I have to just find out for myself, and the only way to do that is to try. So yeah, Isaac is saying, so much to question. Absolutely. Vespergo is saying, challenging trips can be transformative. Absolutely. Caroline is saying, okay, so be open to experiences and surrender. I've tripped before and surrendering is hard for me. I don't know why. Thank you, bro. Yeah, you're welcome. And I see almost like psychedelic experiences as a training ground for surrendering. So it's a funny paradox as well of like, okay, surrendering might be a good prerequisite for a trip and it might make the experience easier, but actually a psychedelic experience might be an opportunity for you to learn how to deepen your surrender, your ability to surrender more deeply. But also there's practices that you can do to deepen your ability to surrender without the psychedelics that can help you. One short one that I like is to just let go and surrender for 4 seconds. Let's do it together right now. Be prepared to let go and surrender completely into the moment, okay? You take a deep breath in, and then you fully surrender. You fully surrender. Oh! Wow. Just 4 seconds. Deep breath in. Fully let go. Give everything up. Give everything up and surrender. See what remains. And then you can pick up your stuff again after 4 seconds. And do this as often as possible. And then you can expand that into meditations and try to repeat that and basically, expand that space of silence and of giving up of everything and a surrender in your meditation practice, and just remain with that state of I am that is left. So yeah, but also, yeah, as I said, psychedelics can be wonderful. It's a hardcore practice. It's an intense practice. It can be a practice for deepening your surrender. Some of my experiences, I thought I was good at surrendering, and then I went into another psychedelic experience, and it said like, "Oh, are you ready to surrender into that?" And I'm like, no, please don't. Or also another practice is like, it's loving, a love for appearances, a love for any experience. A deep appreciation. That's a practice I take into psychedelic space as well. It's basically the quest for an unconditional appreciation of every appearance. To say like, okay, this is emerging. I meet it with an openness, with a curiosity, and I say like, wow, can I appreciate this? Oh, this throbbing vibration, this pain in my chest, this absolutely suppressed emotion, this shaking, this contortion, this vomiting, whatever's coming up in psychedelic space. Can I appreciate that? Can I love that? And the realization and letting go and surrender into that is only going to support you through that journey of in and through, basically. It's just, if you go in, you got to go through. That's the fastest, easiest way to deal with psychedelic space. Everything else is going to make it even more challenging. So yeah, thanks for those questions. Thought Frankly saying, I had lots of bad trips on various substances when I was young because I was too stupid and had no guidance. Just take a small dose. Yeah, when I was younger, my first mushroom trip was a 5-gram trip in silent darkness alone. Not the best idea. When I was 16 years old, couldn't handle it. I thought I poisoned myself and slipped in and out of consciousness and was pure terror and paranoia. Also, my early LSD trips, I was visiting my depressed cousin at the time, kind of like suicidal, and completely spiraled into very dark territory. One time I was going out and not really in good equipment into the snow and just like getting lost in the wilderness, and like this recklessness and naivete and no guidance, no trip sitter can get you into pretty sketchy situations. Isaac is saying, any thoughts or advice on letting go of a past relationship? Good question. It's a tough one, especially if depending on the type of relationship. I guess what helped me during the past year ago, my ex-girlfriend separated and ended our relationship, and I'm still kind of processing. It's been a very deep one. And it's like, a friend of mine was also recently saying this sensation of like, you can't rush your healing, like what depending on the relationship, it's like, but give it space and awareness to process it. Allow for the emotions that are coming up when you reflect on that relationship to come through and emerge. Psychedelics can be wonderful in helping you do that. Being very present with them, very, very present. So feeling, for me, for example, is feeling the grief, feeling the pain, feeling the separation, the sadness. And recognizing that you can't rush your healing, you can't rush that process. Also, a good way can be to just practically develop new relationships. It doesn't have to be that relationship that you know that you were trying to let go of, but I mean the foundation is like the spiritual practice of cultivating a sense of love and wholeness within yourself. I'd say having that as a foundation to see and realize that you are already whole and complete and loved as you are. That's a wonderful foundation where there is no problem anymore. But also going out and actually socializing, getting into areas where like-minded people hang out, connecting with people, talking to people, developing friendships, and spending time with people is a wonderful way to process as well, and develop new relationships and get into contact and yeah, just like that makes you feel that sense of connection as well. Yeah, it's a tough one. Man, is there more advice or thoughts on letting go of a past relationship? Letting go. You can just try to practice just to let go. Now, what's stopping you from letting go? It's I think I recognize it's a funny question because like obviously there's nothing holding us back from completely letting go right here and right now. But then obviously there is, because we can't do it. Like on one level it's like we can just let go right here right now. And then on another note it's like we can't seem to do it. But if we try over and over and over again and we practice that sensation, then we might get better at it. Luffy Gamer saying hello, namaste. What are your thoughts on Andrew Tate and what he preaches? I am not too familiar with Andrew Tate. I have watched some of his stuff, but I don't hold an opinion around him. But I don't watch him. I don't resonate too much with what he's saying. So yeah, I can't share my thoughts on him because I don't have any. I would have to look deeper into his content and what he's saying. Isaac is saying, you have many good things to say. It's so nice to listen to what you have to say. Thank you. Respiro saying 8 grams. Yeah, it's been my only 8-gram trip, but I do feel like I want to get back into that kind of territory. There's this one guy, he's called Kilindi Ie. Every time I listen to him, I'm like just blown away by what he's saying. He's talking about his experiences with 30, 40, 50 dried grams of psilocybin mushrooms. Absolutely insane stories. What he's talking about, it's far out. And there's a group of practitioners around the world who are exploring these realms. And I would like to work my way up. But even after my last 8-gram experiences, I think it has been probably 5 years ago now. I said okay, I wanna try that again, and still haven't had the courage haven't prioritized it to go in again because it was so humbling. And the higher you go, actually, circling back to the bad trips, the more you increase the risk or the window for a very challenging, far out, difficult experience to emerge. Caroline is saying, the morning after a challenging trip feels like I just made it through a boss fight. I just appreciate the sun rising. Yes, that's what I love about challenging trips as well. I think that's one of the key values around psychedelics. I published a short around that today. You can look it up on my channel. Of psychedelic experiences, challenging ones are so challenging that when you're going through them and when you've made it through, when you make it to the other shore, when you make it out, you're like, wow, I made it, like, and that builds up a certain sense of confidence and resilience to meet life's challenges head on. And to say, like, this experience, what I'm having here, you know, this heartbreak, this relationship that is ending, this physical pain, like the pleurisy I'm experiencing right now, that's peanuts in comparison to that challenging trip that I had. And yeah, I think there's a quote from one of the founders of the Santo Daime Ayahuasca Church, Padrino Sebastião or something, he's called like that. He said, suffering, he said something about suffering. He was like, suffering is a great way to cleanse one's being. Because when you're going through that suffering and you come out on the other hand, you say, like, thank God for being alive. You're like, you're coming back, you're like appreciating your stability in your state of consciousness, appreciating the simple things of life, just like drinking a tea, smoking a pipe, or I don't know, kissing a loved one, hugging a loved one, your bare feet touching the grass. You're like, thank God for my life. After you've gone through suffering is a great way to cleanse one's being. And basically the psychedelic practice can be an experience and a practice of purifying yourself, because that suffering, it's only coming from your selfishness, basically. You judging your experience. You say, I don't want this, I want this. I prefer the bliss and the heavenly experience over the torment and the pain and the suffering. And that is leading to you suffering. Yeah, Not a Name is saying, do you ever think the shaman hippie persona is an ego trap we get stuck in? Like Berlin nonconformist or New York drag is also shamanism, just not through Shipibo designs and earthy colors. I guess my first response to that is every persona is an ego trap. Scary! I also have to add that it might be a stage or an inevitable reality that we fall into this trap of building up a persona. When we get into spirituality, all of a sudden we think we are a spiritual person and that person is not. When we get into psychedelics and into the deeper aspects of this work, we're like, oh, I am superior now because I have glimpsed into deeper realms of consciousness than this person, where we're creating a psychedelic elitist mindset. A hippie, we're like, oh, all of this, like, now I'm beyond materialism, that's why I don't care about money, and subconsciously we're still dissatisfied with our life situation because we have to get our food from the garbage bin. All of it is an ego trap, just as much as the other direction of like, okay, I'm an investment banker and I'm this, I am that. Everything that comes after the I am is an ego trap, basically, because all of it is ego. And as I said, some of it might be useful and inevitable for our functioning in society and our day-to-day life, like to identify ourselves as a father, as a certain gender, as a certain label. You know, it's useful for languaging and communication to say like, okay, I am a psychedelic integration coach. You know, that's what I present out, and there's a certain use in that framing for the marketing and for our communication. But I guess the foundation of it is that every identification with anything is an ego trap. So yeah, in the end we'll have to go beyond all identification, as your as your channel name is saying. Not a name, like it doesn't have a name. What we are is that which is beyond. That's our essence, that which is beyond any identification. So to get stuck in any persona is a trap. It's ego. And then it gets very nuanced. Chris Beisch is talking about this in his book LSD and the Mind of the Universe. He went into successively deeper states of consciousness through 73 high-dose LSD sessions, and he was recognizing a process of death and rebirth, and basically recognizing that the ego and our, just like what Alan Watts calls skin encapsulated ego, the body, the identification with the body and the mind and the persona is just the first layer of ego identification that is getting torn apart, and that is basically dying and then being reborn. And then when we even tap into deeper states of consciousness in our psychedelic experiences, for example, or in our spiritual practice and the meditation, we basically, there is a new persona emerging. For example, in psychedelic space, when you're not completely transcending everything and you're going into absolute infinity, but you're still there, there's still some thoughts and some navigation and some identification. We could call that a psychedelic persona, like a psychedelic you. It feels like sometimes there's me, and then there's, in psychedelic space, there is also me, but it's a different me. There's a psychedelic persona emerging. But even the identification with the psychedelic persona is an identification that is not pointing towards our essence, because the essence has to be formless. It has to transcend every identification. And we can then even go further and say there is a collective identification with the collective unconscious, which is still an identification. And then there's an identification with the totality of consciousness, which is still an identification. And even there we can still surrender ever deeper and basically go into this spiral of the death rebirth process to transcend even further. And basically then in the end nothing is left, which is a very humbling experience, but which is basically, from my current understanding and point of view, the whole point. Because from this emptiness and this nothingness, there is just a spontaneous play emerging, which is not in identification with anything, and then you're free. That's what people might call liberation, because any identification is being trapped or stuck in something. And then that thing is what the Buddhists might call impermanent, and that fact of impermanence, or I think they call it anicca, right? And that leads to dukkha, which is suffering. A little bit on a rant to that kind of side. There is a presentation coming. Look out for that on the channel. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications. There's a big presentation around all this, or what we covered in the last hour. Around, it's called Psychedelics Are Not a Magic Pill. That "not" is in racist. So psychedelics being a magic pill and not a magic pill at the same time. We go into all of this in great depth. It's a 3-hour long presentation. I finished the editing today. Look out for that. But yeah, selflessness is such a fun one to grapple with, because I personally then even fell into the trap of because it's a funny loop, it's this trap of, I fell into the identification with myself being seeking selflessness or wanting to embody the ultimate selflessness. And then I was still in a state of suffering because I was resisting what is here right now. my identification with ego and with my persona, and I was resisting that and wishing for a higher state of selflessness, which is silly altogether, and still threw me in for a loop of suffering, because to seek is to suffer. Even to seek the peak experience and the transcendence of selflessness and formlessness, and to seek nothing is bliss. I think that's what the sutras say, that's what Bodhidharma is saying. And then when you don't seek anything, you're like, there is a realization. And also we in the psychedelic community, many people are very caught up with the sensation of ego death, desiring ego death, wishing for, wanting to, working towards, or glorifying ego death. Where's the point in that? Because counterintuitively, when you give that up, that's going to be your most direct way to transcend that sensation of ego. And even the identification and the ego and the illusion, what people might call Maya in Hindu philosophy, is still part of the whole. It's part of Leela, the play and the dance of consciousness. And there's no need to even reject that, but just to cultivate, I guess, an awareness to see through it. And then we can even appreciate the workings of our mind and the arising of ego and of a persona that is playing in this illusionary world that we find ourselves in, but without being attached to it, without identifying or over-identifying with that body, with that mind, with that ego mechanism that is playing out automatically in this illusion of consciousness. So yeah, deep topic. We could talk hours about this. Let me continue reading the comments. Sorry. Coraline is saying, did I read your name wrong? Sorry for that, for the last hour. Coraline Eyes. Coraline is saying, it's easy to get caught. I'm the ego just wanting control over everything. It can be tricky. Yeah, I want control. Like, that's what circling back to the beginning of the live stream, that's a struggle with the imbalance. Basically, I recognize that my imbalance is also coming from the ego and the identification with the ego wanting control over a situation. Like, I want it to be this way, I want this to work in this specific way, I force things to do this way, and if it doesn't work out that way, then I'm I'm not happy. And that's control. Absolutely. Feels nice to surrender. Absolutely. Dylan, good to see you here. I saw 8 different versions come out of me. You say something else before? Otherwise I don't understand that statement, but good. Sean is saying, Alaska is here. I ate some apes recently. It was amazing. Beautiful. Seth, good to see you here. If you understand, there's no need to continue dosing. Do you need a reminder that fire is hot when you touch it? It's a very interesting sensation and statement. For me, I'm not at that point yet. I guess when you get the point, it doesn't matter if you go back or not. Because then there's no judgment anymore of any experience. When you get the point, you don't, like, why I guess there's no point in going back for the selfish reasons, but then you're free to play. When you get the point, then Your only job is to enjoy the show and make your time as fun as possible, and recognize that you're free to choose whatever you want to do. And in that sense, then, when you get the point and you, go back to the psychedelic experience, but not for the psychedelic experience then to be a means to an end, but an end in and of itself. Psychedelic practice then becomes a practice like meditation shall be, an end in and of itself. You don't meditate towards something. That's the whole trap of meditation, to think that you're somewhere where you're not supposed to be, and then you meditate your way to enlightenment. Counterintuitively, it seems to be that the only way to recognize that the practice you're doing is pointless and it's bringing you right here is to actually do the practice. But just in the same sense, I could feel like that the psychedelic experience is, why shouldn't I go back? Like, if I enjoy that show of consciousness and I can just simply appreciate it, I'm not even seeking anything, why not go back? If it's fun, if it's enjoyable, if there is a great potential still to be humbled and learn and connect, then why not? Why not? So, and still it can act as a reminder on certain stages of your development. Nothing wrong with that. Because it's easy, I guess, for us humans to forget things. We are forgetting. It's a blessing and a curse, especially for me. Like, I forget literally everything. Like, you can ask my friends and all people in my life, they are astounded by how much I forget things, names and all kinds of things, like huge. So, and that's a blessing, it allows me to be here. But regarding these types of insights and realizations, why not go back and get a reminder? And also, I feel like if there's not just one point to be made, if there's such an immense depth that is possible to explore in psychedelic space. It even seems to be infinite. Like, there's such a depth that many people don't appreciate the depth of that space. That it can get to points where it transcends simple spiritual teachings like Buddhism or mystic Christianity or Taoism. It can get far more interesting and weird than that. So why not have fun exploring this if you enjoy it? That's kind of like my current perspective on it. Isaac is saying, thank you. You are welcome. Thank you for being here. Kali is saying, any thoughts in how I could take magic truffles through the airport? No, I do not feel comfortable giving you advice on illegal action. You can be creative and really inquire if you really want to do this, or if there's a possibility for you to find another way. And if you do, take responsibility for the possible consequences. But I cannot support you in possibly illegal activity. Greg, cheers everyone, just subscribe. Yes, thank you, cheers. Rhiannongun is saying, you have been not sorry, such a blessing in my life. I really thank God that I have the right influences in my life. You are very special. Thank you, that means a lot. It truly does, it touches my heart. Thank you. Thank you. You all of you who are here, you are such a blessing in my life. I want you to know this. Like, your astonishing light and your magic and your presence really mean a lot for me and to me. And I have a deep gratitude for all of you. Thank you for being in my life. Absolutely magical, an absolute blessing. Greg is saying, heroic dose, let's get it. Yeah, I feel called to one. Laughing is a game changer for severe depression, PTSD. Incredible. Yes. Humor. There's going to be a video about humor soon as well. Humor is one of my other top values. I describe it as the ability to bring lightness, laughter, and perspective to life. Fostering connection and resilience through playfulness and a cosmic appreciation for the absurdities of existence. Or another definition that I came up with was the ability to embrace life's quirks and challenges with lightheartedness, creativity, and perspective, fostering joy, connection, and resilience through laughter and play. It's one of my top values. Humor helps you in psychedelic space, helps you in daily life. It's such a crucial integration for my psychedelic actualization, I will have to say, because in my deepest trips, in my deepest insights, in my deepest awakenings, my response of the recognition of the cosmic joke, and to see that all of existence is basically a joke, the recognition and the understanding of that joke brings about inexhaustible laughter, just like an inexhaustible laughter when you recognize the cosmic joke. And to appreciate that and integrate that in your daily life can make life so much more fun. I have a saying and a principle that I try to follow in my life. It says, if it's not fun, then it's not fun. Yeah. If it's not fun, then it's not fun. So why not make it fun? And we're free to make our life fun, because fun and humor is something that we can cultivate within our own mind. No matter the suffering, no matter the pain, no matter the circumstances of our life, in some I recognize and appreciate it might be more difficult than in others, there is still an opportunity and a choice to perceive that situation in a humorous way, with lightheartedness, with playfulness, and really to take this seriously, not to take anything too seriously. I think it was Osho who said, enlightenment is the opposite of seriousness. Like, enlightenment and being serious, it doesn't click. Like, it's opposites. You cannot be awake and serious at the same time. It's just not possible. So laughter and not being too serious, I would say, is an appropriate response to being alive. Because if it's not fun in your mind, then if it's not a good place to be, then it's not fun. And then there's obviously all the practical stuff that comes out of this recognition that you can do basically to reconnect with that lightheartedness in your life. For example, one practice, it's a serious practice, okay? It's a serious practice to cultivate lightheartedness and fun. Touching moss. Have you ever touched moss? I did it yesterday. I actually went out for a hike. It was -4 degrees outside, and I slept outside with a friend. We did a hike, 10-15 kilometers right? Kusanagi, he's my colleague. Check out his channel. He's doing brilliant music. We went out on a hike outside, and it was freezing cold, but still we did it. And you know what I did? I touched moss. There was moss on a tree. I was just touching it and feeling the moss under my hand. And I could not, for the love of God, be sad. I could not. Try it. Try it out. If you're sad or depressed or are very serious, then go out and touch some moss. If you have to travel for it a bit, then go and travel for it. Like, go do it. It's worth the experience. And then just touch the moss and see what comes up for you. And let me know. Like, come back here and write me a comment under some of my videos, or write me a personal Instagram message if you actually did this practice of touching moss. It's healing. It's true healing. I'm not joking. It's a serious practice, okay? Touch some moss. Incredible. Say one is saying, what's up, Say? Shrooms helped me with PTS Glee. I'm glad to hear this. They have a lot of potential to help with these symptoms, and there's great research being done regarding this. I'm very glad to hear that they helped you. Not a name is saying, ayahuasca takes you to intuition and honesty and telepathy, but then it all collapses on money, capitalism, privilege, passports, and invitations, things that obstruct godly oneness, purity moment. Yeah, there is, I don't know if you're referring to some of the capitalistic monetization of the ayahuasca space, but definitely there's some of that possible and some of that happening, but also there's authentic and pure and true facilitators of the medicine out there, and I feel like then some of that work is worth being rewarded. I'm not for free ayahuasca for everyone. I like to give money or some form of energy exchange to somebody who's doing the hard work of actually cooking the medicine, bringing it to me, or me coming to them and then holding the space, being away for the whole night and maybe even 2 nights or 3 nights or even more, and singing and being very present and facilitating the space. It's hard work. Facilitation is hard work. It's not easy work. Okay, so there is a possible exchange for that. Does it have to be 10K? No. Does it have to be in this like capitalistic system? I don't know. But I feel like it doesn't contradict each other, money and the spiritual kind of experience of the ayahuasca. I'm very happy to pay for my ceremonies, because imagine what it would be like if nobody would be offering the ayahuasca in exchange for money. Then nobody would be offering it at all, and then yeah, you gotta be taking the journey up to the Amazon and go look for the plants, like find a tribe, find an elder, learn the language. It's tough out there in the jungle. It's a very serious, not a serious, but very tough environment to be in. Lots of mosquitoes, lots of humidity, lots of rain, lots of different plants and animals that can bother you, and then you gotta look for the ayahuasca vine, and you have to cultivate it and in your own space wherever you are living. And cook the brew, learn all of that process, and then handle your trips alone. Possible, everything's possible, but yeah, it's a different route. I don't know if you were referring to that, but that's just what came up for me regarding your comment. Kali saying, as a first timer, If I am to only take 2 trips in a 3-day span or 3-month span for mushrooms, what 2 doses should I try? I thought 2.5 gram and 5 grams. Are you referring to truffles or are you referring to magic mushrooms? I think you mentioned truffles earlier, because there's a huge difference in the dosing of both. If I can only say for the casual psilocybin mushrooms, usually cubensis, I would say if it's your first trip, 2.5 grams is already a very strong and good dose. Be very careful with that. Maybe I would even say start with 1 gram and then go up to 2.5 and then maybe go up to 3. Because between 2.5 and 5 is a big jump. And depending on your experience level, I would say don't make your second trip a 5 gram trip. Like have like maybe 10 to 20 experiences in the 1 to 3 gram range, and then slowly tap into 4 grams and further. Don't just jump from 2 to 5. I feel like that's just my personal recommendation. That's too big of a jump. Because 5 grams might be, not necessarily, but might be vastly different than 2.5. I mean, it can also happen that 5 grams is less intense than 2.5. That's the unpredictability with the mushrooms. You never know how much psilocin is in there. I've had 5 gram trips or seen people take 5, 6, 7 grams of mushrooms and not feel anything. Or I haven't felt anything on 5 grams, even though on 1 gram of the same batch, I completely spaced out and was thrown out into outer space. So yeah, be careful. Start slow, slowly work your way up. I wouldn't recommend too big of jumps, depending on your experience level. So, for example, I for example have had a couple mushroom experiences under my belt. I could do my next one with 2.5 and then the next one with 5. But yeah, very much highly depends on your individual situation. Kuzana was saying, I've won the billiard session. Now it's dinner time. Where did the lions go? Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I am glad to hear you won that billiard session. Enjoy your food. Kali saying, Theravada Buddhists claim enlightenment and are so serious too. Everybody who is serious about enlightenment hasn't got it. That's just my bold claim. I can't take people who are serious. I just can't. Everybody who's serious, I can't take them serious. Seriously. It's just not possible. My response to anything serious cannot be a serious response. And that might trigger and alarm some people who are very serious. But seriousness just comes from an identification with something, even though it could also be an identification and attachment to the teachings of Theravada Buddhism. If that's your enlightenment, that's not it, from my point of view. It just, as I said, it's just not possible. Seriousness and being serious and enlightenment and awakening and liberation, it does not click. It's opposite to one another. It just has to be. Contemplate why. It's a very serious contemplation. Do some self-inquiry. I can highly recommend. Take a pen and a paper and write down your thought process and contemplate for yourself why being serious and awakening and enlightenment cannot merge. They cannot be in alignment. It's impossible. And then actually generate an insight or an experience of realization for yourself. If you get that, you've made huge progress on this illusionary journey that we are on. We call it a journey or a path. It's a funny notion. Jace with J is saying, yo, are you on psychedelics? No, I am not on psychedelics. I seem to be because I am a bit crazy, maybe at times. I wish I was on psychedelics. Actually, I've taken a long break now I've had my last experience, it was probably a month or two ago, and my last serious experience even longer than that. But it's because of my health situation. I feel the call to go into a very deep psychedelic experience, and I plan to do one soon, but I have to recover a little bit further. I think 2 or 3 live streams ago, I did a live stream out of a hospital. I was traveling. I got like thyroid fever in Madagascar, and then I traveled back on like a 4-day intense travel, and now I have pleurisy, and I'm still suffering some after effects from health issues, and I've been sick for 1.5 years now, actually, or a little over a year, and that has been holding me back from actually being on psychedelics. And I haven't done a live stream on psychedelics. Actually, that's a fun idea. Maybe just like a low, tiny, mini dose of psychedelics and tapping into live streams. I don't know if YouTube would like that. They don't like my live trips. They demonetized the channel and deleted a live trip recently. Scary stuff. Follow me on Instagram and download my free guide, 5 Steps to Embody Your Psychedelic Insights into Daily Life. Second link in the video description to come onto my email list to stay connected before this channel gets deleted. I have some really cool life trips coming up. You know, I did LSD on an uninhabited island in Madagascar, and there was an absolutely insane journey, absolutely crazy. I have video footage of my first Amanita muscaria experience, and I have video footage of a very intense mushroom trip I had a couple months ago. But I have footage of a Changa life trip as well. But I'm a bit too scared because now I got like this weird strike, and YouTube kicked me out of their partner program, and I don't know if I should upload them or not, because there's a risk for this channel getting deleted. But yeah, that is regarding am I on psychedelics right now? No, but it feels like almost like I am. Everything is a bit wavy. Everything is a bit like in this tryptamine state. Every time I do these live strips, live streams, I get a bit trippy, you know, because I get very present, kind of like in these experiences with you guys, and then everything gets a bit more amplified and a bit more trippy. Could also just be HPPD, hallucination persistent perception disorder, but I see it in a very positive way. Everything being a bit more psychedelic. Yeah. And Jace with Jace saying, my first time trying magic mushrooms. I took 4.4 gram and felt amazing, had so much energy and started working out. Wonderful to hear. One of the lucky ones who did a bit of a higher dose and had a fantastic experience. Absolutely possible. And for me, I feel like my work nowadays, like I don't enjoy the lower dosages of mushrooms anymore. Especially 1, 2, 3 grams, I don't enjoy it too much anymore. It's good for start. But now with like 4 or 5 grams, I feel like that's where I can do my best work, where I do very nice introspection. 5, 6 grams, it gets out into very weird, sometimes alien territory. Mushroom intelligence is really creeping out. I feel like you gotta find your right dosage. It also depends on your body weight. It also depends on the mushrooms you're having. Maybe it depends on the time of the day and the astrology and the circle of the moon and the position of the stars. could be possible. I think Stanislav Grof and his colleague, what was his name? I forgot his name. Sorry, brother. They talked about it. And he said astrology is the rosette stone of psychedelic work. I got it from The Way of the Psychonaut. Beautiful book, highly recommended. Artins is saying, what do they eat as food in the jungle? I've seen a lot of rice. I have seen lots of fish. If you're in the Amazon, they go fishing. Piranhas and other kind of little fish. And yeah, I don't know, everything that they get there, huh? It depends on how far you're into the jungle. If you're further in, then there might be plants around, and there's also lots of fruit growing in the jungle. They eat lots of fruit. And otherwise, I don't remember that much. It's been a while since I've been there. But yeah, fish, rice, vegetables. I guess seasonal and regional vegetables and fruits, and other like forms of carbs like rice, potatoes. I don't know if potatoes grow there. There's these like potato-like things, but I forgot their name. They were really good. I miss them. It's like fried potatoes that we have, but very nice. Are truffles psilocybin mushrooms? Yes, it's yes and no. Basically, it's the same substance. It boils down to, it's a different part of the mushroom, I think, and it boils down to the same substance when it's synergized, alchemized in your body to psilocin. So it's the same molecule that is acting within you, but psilocybin mushrooms are different. Kind of like they are more potent. There's different. Actually, I don't know the whole difference, but it's a different part of the shroom. The truffles are just, I think, the roots, right? Not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. And so truffles are also less potent in how many grams you have to take to reach the state of consciousness you would reach with the low dose of psilocybin mushrooms, with the actual mushroom itself. DMT Infinity. Hey, good to see you. Oh, hey, it didn't yell me you were live. It didn't tell me you were live. Oh, yeah. I'm glad that you're here and that you found this live stream. Welcome. And DMT Infinity saying, I'm happy to finally get to see you live. Yes, I'm happy that you're here. 3.5 grams of Panis Envy, psilocybin mushrooms, my preferred dose for mushrooms. Yeah, good dose range. 3 to 5 grams, absolutely. I either have breast cancer or a cyst in my left breast, so I completely understand the health thing. Yeah, it's tough. Tough thing to be sick. But also humor, great way to approach it and deal with it. So would that mean that a 24/7 live streamer, and in real life streamer, technically be a live streamer? We are all streaming our life, basically. Yes. Okay, not to forget any other comments. Not a name said, oh, I was just about to read your comment, bro. Now you deleted it. Sorry. Kai Ninli, welcome. Thank you for commenting. You're crazy because for my second trip I did only 1 gram and had a bad trip. Yeah, could also happen. Potential for danger and for bad trips is always there. I am curious, what made this experience bad for you? Why would you call it a bad trip? What happened? I'm very curious. And sorry to hear that you had a bad trip on 1 gram of mushrooms. Absolutely possible. They can be very intense. And always there is a potential for dangers and pitfalls and uncomfortable experiences to emerge, even in the lower dosages. But yeah, if you're willing to share, let me know or contact me and we can have a talk about it for the integration of that experience. Because in retrospect, even from a bad trip, you might be able to integrate it in a way from reflecting about it and sensing about it and learning from it. Or not. Some experiences are just so confusing and horrible and uncomfortable that you just want to forget about them and just move on with your life. That can also be part of your integration. Artens is saying astrology doesn't depend on that shit. I think. I don't know. Like I have no clue. Like literally. Yeah, I don't know much about it, but it's yeah, I don't know too much about it to judge if it depends on anything like this or not. One thing I know is that reality is far more weird and mysterious than I suspect. The deeper I go into this learning and explore different fields, it's like reality seems to be far weirder and more complex than I suspect. So anything, if I've learned one thing, that it's anything that is possible. Anything is possible. Like, I don't know, the moon is literally just affecting water, and we are 80% water. So it might make sense to think that the moon is actually influencing the water in our body, and that might influence a psychedelic trip. Like, who knows? Like, what? Who knows what's happening with this like crazy stuff that is happening in this infinitely vast space that we call the universe. Jace with Jace saying, I don't know, maybe because I prepared myself by not stressing that whole day, making sure I'm in a happy state of mind leading up to taking them. Yeah, that's a big factor, absolutely. That's a recipe for increasing your chances of having a successful, beautiful psychedelic experience. Okay. Guys, I feel like I am wanting to go for a pee because I drank this coffee and I drank this tea and I drank this water. So if you have any more questions or comments, write them in the chat and I'm happy to be here for a couple of minutes longer. Otherwise, I might slowly come to an end of this stream by singing a song. Artens is saying, I agree that anything might be possible. That's why I typed in I think at the end. That's good. It's good to be aware of our language that we're using. I love to be conscious about my language and to say like anything that I don't know, basically, and that is not based on my direct experience of life. Even that can be flawed, you know, and the interpretations and conclusions drawn from that. But anything that's not based on direct experience, like I preface it with I think or I believe that, and be aware of that it's an opinion or like it's like a belief basically. I don't like to hold strong opinions about anything. It's a wonderful practice, actually, that psychedelics taught me by humbling me and showing me, letting me realize and recognize the mystery of reality. DMT Infinity is saying, do you prefer ayahuasca or DMT? Difficult question. Depends on for what. I would say I prefer... It depends on the intention. I prefer ayahuasca, I would say, for having deeper explorations, for having healing experiences, for connecting with the earth. I might prefer Changa for having a good time in the forest, or even maybe sometimes at a music festival. There I prefer Changa or smokable DMT. I would not go into ayahuasca space in that kind of setting. Or I would prefer maybe an NDMT for far out consciousness exploration and meeting aliens. I don't know. You can meet those on ayahuasca as well. Overall, I would say, as it's kind of like it's the same stuff. It's the same substance. I would, my feeling is saying I would prefer ayahuasca because for my own journey, because it has taken me to the highest highs and to the deepest depth of darkness, has blessed me with so many beautiful experiences and with so many challenging ones, had me to my knees way more than DMT experiences did. DMT experiences are sometimes very short, very confusing, and but beautiful in their own sense. But also, I haven't tried to combine an NDMT smoked with an MAOI. That might be an experience that I want to do very soon. I've been saying that for a while as well, to extend the smoked and NDMT experience, or maybe do even something like Pharmahuasca, and say, and then see how it compares to ayahuasca. Not a name. I was saying I used to take Aya 30 plus times with a big name shaman in the US, and he ended up making another woman Bridges, and 10 years later they are nowhere, and Aya was showing transcendence. At least from my point of view, humans make cyclical wrong choices that keep them and others in lower realms and hells, and we never reached the transcendence, or it was retoured away from us. Interesting experience that you're sharing there. Yeah, I don't know what to comment on that, other than, hey, what did you learn out of that, and what kind of inspiration is coming out of that experience and recognition for you personally? How are you using that experience and that lesson and that learning and utilizing it in your own life? I haven't had a similar experience, so I can't say much about it. That's what I recognized and mentioned with the opinions. I can't hold an opinion regarding what you were sharing, but thank you for sharing. Thank you. Artist is saying, I am so paranoid of everyone, man. I always get paranoid and have a bad trip on mushrooms. What should I do? I have trust issues with human beings. That's a difficult question and tough situation. If you are open and willing, I mean, you don't have to do anything and you should not do anything, but if you want to and you are open and willing, then and you would like to resolve those trust issues with human beings, it might be worth a journey without the psychedelics to actually resolve those trust issues. Whatever you feel like is a cause, there is lots of great books about psychology, about trauma, about just like exploring your mind and working towards a better place regarding these topics of paranoia, trust issues, and mental health challenges. I have read a lot of psychology and it helped me greatly. And even further, seek out someone and try again and again and again to build trust with people. And also, I guess, building trust and confidence within yourself is a great start. Look out for resources and practices that you can implement and cultivate to cultivate a sensation of confidence and trust within yourself, within your being, within life itself, and towards life itself as well. I feel like for me personally, just like that is where my trust in people and also in the psychedelic experience is coming from. It's coming from a deep trust and confidence within myself. Yeah, as I said, psychology is a wonderful way to do that. And spirituality might help in certain areas as well. But yeah, otherwise, I guess it really depends on your personal situation, and I can't give too much generalized advice regarding this. So please take this lightly, as I can't say too much about it based on my lack of knowledge regarding your personal situation and background and everything. But yeah, if you feel like coaching or a community, I'm going to start a community. That's a great way for tapping into a safe space. You're free to contact me with the call link in the description below. If you feel like a resonance and helping being an open listener, we can work on that. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. I'm not certified in that kind of stuff. I'm more on the coaching kind of jam. But yeah, if you feel the resonance, you can reach out to me or reach out to other people that you feel like you can trust, where there is a non-judgmental space. And then nothing wrong with just stepping back from the psychedelics for a bit, even if it's months or years, until you've cultivated that foundation for yourself, and then go back into the psychedelics. I mean, psychedelics can help with that, but they might also not, as you have tried them apparently and have had difficult experiences. Depending on the setting as well. Apparently there's great psilocybin retreats. I haven't been to one yet with therapists present. They're quite pricey and expensive, but that might also be an opportunity. Yeah. DMT Infinity is saying, my inspiration from psychedelics was not only personal influence, but a collective influence. Interesting. Very interesting. Might you expand on that? That sounds very beautiful. Another name is saying, I saw divinity with them and honestly thought the trajectory is towards some elevated group experience, but here we are with a lot of beef and disagreement. I'm just stuck with a memory of witchcraft and traps, like the one I mentioned, where women in heat are just looking to get pregnant from men in an edgy ego state. Yeah, that's the game of human ego and identification that we talked about earlier. And it's present everywhere. Spiritual communities, psychedelic communities, hippie communities, apparently conscious communities, whatever that even means, are not immune to that, as apparently it's part of our human reality at the time, that there's mind games going on, there's ego games going on, there is everything of all of those traps and pitfalls are going on. And unfortunately, I'm sorry to hear that you suffered from these experiences of witchcraft or black magic or brujos or however else you want to call it. That's a reality of the situation. And if you find yourself in some of those experiences, maybe even in a cult-like setting, I've been in a cult-like setting during ayahuasca experience once. It was definitely not a fun experience. One of the longest nights of my life. Absolutely horrible stuff. You can watch the trip report on my channel. It's called Ayahuasca in a Cult, I think. Not fun. Not fun. And I guess the only thing to do, well, I can't possibly understand the significance of that situation and experience for you, so I can't speak to it, and I can't possibly understand how it must feel for you, and it must be very tough, I recognize. My personal approach is one of, again, taking responsibility and then removing myself out of situations and communities and relationships which do not feel aligned, and work through my own stuff. Because in the end, you're always alone. Always alone. On your deathbed, you're alone. Even in very high-dose psychedelic journeys, it's, as Kalindi said, it's a journey from the alone into the alone. And I recognize ayahuasca especially is a community thing. That's one part that's actually also very beautiful about it. But the community is automatically inviting human games, and human games can be silly, and they can be tricky, and they can be automatically, they're filled with a lot of more potential pitfalls and dangers and opportunity for disagreement and nasty stuff to happen. So yeah, it's just the apparently inevitable nature of our current state of human affairs. But then I guess, it's like, if you are aware of that, then you can shine your light. If you feel the call to then disagree and argue and be active in that community that you are deeply involved in, then by all means step up and do that and feel that empowerment. If you feel like you want to remove yourself out of that and remove all that nasty energy from the black magic and the witchcraft out of your system, then look for a facilitator or a healer or a shaman which is actually doing good work and being on the bright and light side of work, or try to work through it yourself, which might be a bit more difficult. Yeah, but basically just, I guess, it might feel better if you're in alignment with what happened. And forgiveness is a deep topic as well, which we could talk hours over. Forgiveness begins within your own heart, toward yourself first and foremost, and then towards others as well. But by taking full responsibility for everything that is appearing in reality, so also for the fact that you find yourself in these tough situations, if you take responsibility for that, there is a possibility for a deep forgiveness emerging as well. And from that forgiveness, there can be a letting go. And then there is this automatic detachment happening, and you are more free from the struggle, I guess. I don't know. Another name is saying, yeah, I feel like I was competing for humans and lost, and they are in hell, and so am I. But competing for another future, another scenario and magic. Yes, absolutely beautiful. I like to focus on the bright things, and the light and the path forward and the creation, and leave everything that has happened behind and leave hell behind and just shine that light even stronger and further. Okay, last few comments. Atin's saying, thank you for your awesome answer. I'm glad it resonated. You're welcome. Hey, can I ask a question for fun? Imagine there would be a button in front of you, which if you press, every human being will get a dose of psilocybin depending on their weight, even newborns. Would you press it? No. My first reaction is no, I would not press that button. Why? I don't know. I don't like visualization exercises, but it is a fun question that you asked. Because I mentioned earlier in the live stream as well, around the 20-minute mark, that I feel like the foundation for any psychedelic experience shall be an authentic curiosity and willingness to engage and explore that territory that is arising from the lotus of the heart, that is arising from the inner depth of one's being. I cannot be the judge to say that you or everybody or anybody shall have a psychedelic experience. I feel like that is crossing a boundary and tapping into the free will and autonomy of and sovereignty of another consciousness, of another being. So yeah, it would be it would be a very interesting scenario to say, okay, everybody gets loaded and we see what happens with humanity and with culture. I would personally love to see that, and I would personally just enjoy what might be happening from that, and it might even progress us towards a very interesting development and trajectory of human development and culture and this earthly civilized world. So I would love to see that, but I would not press that button. I would love to see it. I would love to see and get everybody loaded, but I would not press that button because that is crossing a boundary that is that I do not want to cross. It's like yeah, I think it's one of the most horrible things you can do to a human being, to just dose them without their agreement. I think it's equal and akin to raping another person. It's horrible stuff. So if anybody would agree to take that dose, anybody who agrees, I would boom, and that curiosity is coming from the inner depth of their being, then boom, I would press that button and get them loaded. Also, did YouTube demonetize your channel? Yes, they did, because of psychedelics. I think it's especially because of psychedelic life trips and basically me showing the consumption of psychedelics. And I guess the further the channel growth is, the more they notice me, and it's like, ooh, ooh, ooh. Gotta be careful. So I might actually not upload any live trips anymore. I'm not sure if I should like delete those that are online right now and put them just like in a private community. I'm gonna start a private community soon, and maybe just all my live trips are gonna go on there. Or also I just have to censor the consumption and make like a disclaimer of like, okay, this is just like a role play, but it feels so like it feels so much against my values, against the value of truth and honesty and authenticity. I was like, I get like cramps in my stomach. I get a visceral physical reaction towards censorship. It's like it feels so horrible. Like there's just like almost like a desire to even go further, but I recognize that the reality that I don't own YouTube. This is a private company that I am able to publish on. It's not my own private platform, this thing. Basically, none of my videos, none of these live strips, none of this is mine. And YouTube, YouTube owns it. YouTube owns this channel. I do not own this channel. I don't have the right to disrespect their policies. So I recognize the position that I'm in. I took the risk consciously to try to push the boundaries and to stand up for what I think is right, because I feel like it's right to express these experiences and share these life trips. And I see great value in that for the world, and it resonates with many of you and with many other people that watch these videos. And I think it's great educational content to actually display what is happening in a psychedelic experience. But YouTube does not think that's the case, and it is in their policies that you're not allowed to do this, and that they censor and delete everything and suppress and shadow ban your channel if they do that, which they did now to mine. And that's okay. Like I can't complain. I can't complain because YouTube has all the right to do that on their platform. Unfortunately, it's the biggest platform there is for publishing videos. So on any other platform, like a private one or Rumble or whatever, there is less potential to reach the amount of people that I could reach here on YouTube and to meet you guys. I mean, we met here, so I can't complain. But now I gotta be considering and contemplating this fine balancing point of how much do I want to push it, because I have friends and colleagues and many other different YouTube channels I have been connected to, they got their channels deleted. One day of the next, just boom, channel deleted. And that might be sad, you know. Then I might just go into a cave and sit in darkness for a couple of years, and or go travel and just leave it all behind for a little while, and then I might come back and try again. But yeah, I'll have to consider how much I want to push it with publishing live trips or not. But yeah, I don't want to. I want to share everything. You know, that's the whole point of this channel. DMT Infinity is saying, I genuinely respect you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I genuinely respect you as well. Artens is saying, you're very bright-minded and smart and a good person, I can tell. I don't know about the bright-minded thing and about the smart thing. Good person, maybe. Thank you for recognition, and thank you. I appreciate that expression of yours. Sometimes I feel like I'm not the brightest or smartest, but yeah, I don't know. Depends on how you define those words, right? Andre just saying lols. Thank you for being here. Not a name is saying, they added and allow AI companies to train on your content opinion hidden in YouTube Studio. Did you activate it? Immortalize yourself. Oh, I'll have to look for that option. Thank you. I'll look it up. And last few questions. I really have to pee, guys. I really have to pee. I could also go pee and then come back, but I don't want to. I just want to end the live stream when I have to pee. Every time that's the case. Because I'm drinking so much. So last few questions. Jace with J is asking, what is your opinion on weed? I can't say. I really want to try it again. At the beginning of my journey, I smoked cannabis and I fell in love with it. So much so that I developed a very deep relationship with it, where I was consuming it every single day for 3 years, probably 3 or 4 years. I was consuming cannabis every single day, a lot, like throughout the day. And it opened me up. It provided great lessons and openings, and I'm so grateful for this substance, and I love it. But also, I mean, with the constant, consistent use, and maybe even we could say abuse, some side effects occurred, and they were not supporting my life path in the way and preventing me from doing some things I wanted to do, like reading or exercising or building a business. So I decided to stop for 1 year to get a little bit of distance towards that substance that I love so much. So I loved it too much. And because I loved it so much, I had to distance myself from that substance. I decided to take a year break and then allow myself to engage in cannabis again. I took the year break, and now it's been over 4 years, I think almost 5, since I have had my last cannabis experience. And I have not had the desire or courage to go back. Because I recognize it's a tricky one. I would like to go back and use it consciously. I would like to try to use it in a way where it's like a psychedelic ceremony, basically. And I go in and I take like a humongous amount of cannabis, a huge dose, and I go into very deep psychedelic territory and ceremony with it. And see what that space brings about, because that space is not truly opening up if you consume cannabis every single day, I feel like. And then I want to try that. Like, that's upcoming for me. But also what has been holding me back to actually engage in that is that I have a little bit of fear and respect towards that substance, and have a little bit of fear that this love for the substance is arising in that degree as well, and I might engage in frequent use again, and that might not be supporting my business, even though I love to be in that cannabis state. But maybe not. So I don't have an opinion at the moment, because I'll have to tap into this space again. I don't even remember what cannabis is like. I don't remember what it feels like to be smoking weed. I don't know. I don't remember. It's been such a long time. Too long to remember. So I'll have to engage again, have my reference point experiences from my current stage of development and realization, and then I can talk more about it. And I'll share those experiences, probably even the life experience, I don't know, but definitely the trip report on this channel, so stay tuned. So yeah, cannabis is a tricky one. Look deeply into your relationship with it. I have many coaching clients of mine, and many people I just see and talk to in the community tell themselves beautiful stories that cannabis is not holding them back, while actually cannabis is holding them back. And many even recognize that cannabis is holding them back from actually living a truly aligned and fulfilling and purposeful life. So it's a tricky one. It's a very tricky one. And yes, you can tell yourself you're a functional stoner and all that kind of jam. I did the same thing. But in some ways, it's a very tricky territory and dynamic and relationship to navigate. But also, I don't want to say that it's impossible. So there is a very real possibility to just smoke for decades upon decades for your whole life, every single day, and live a beautiful life. Nothing wrong with that. If that feels truly aligned, if that's totally on your path, and that's your fully supported in that journey, then so be it. Terence McKenna might be an example of that. Like he was a beautiful stoner and loved cannabis until his very last days. So yeah, but it requires a very much of an intellectual honesty and an honesty within yourself of like, if that's truly the case. Because I know how easy it is to fool ourselves into saying that that's the case. But when I now reflect on my experiences and this time period where I was stoned for 3 years every single day, I can say that that was definitely not supporting the unfoldment of my highest potential. Cannabis played a part in holding me back. And then there might be like this middle ground, which you might be able to find of like, okay, I smoke once a week, I smoke once a month. Interesting. Depends on each and every individual. Sing. I just used some cannabis law. Enjoy the experience. Enjoy. I still like to hang around people who smoke cannabis. Like I hang around hippies and people who smoke all the time. And I enjoy it. But sometimes I recognize, even when you're sober and you hang around people who smoke all the time, all day, every day, I recognize sometimes that there's a bit of like, there's a lack of direction, there's a lack of ambition, there's a lack of that, this like powerful fire, passion, energy to get going, do something. and when I'm sober and not in the high of the cannabis, I'm like more like, let's go, let's do something, let's do this, let's do that, let's create something, let's have like bam, bam, bam. And then this cannabis state is more like, oh, wow, slow, relax, bro. And then that doesn't resonate with me too much anymore. DMT Infinity is saying, no, you're a worthy teacher, the kind of teacher I wish I had on my early journey as a teenager and young adult. In a sea of fakes, cons, scammers, and backstabbers, you're one of the real ones left. Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's what I try to do, walk the talk and pass on my own learnings that I have discovered and received on my journey so far. To basically when I'm talking to you, I'm also talking, and when I'm making videos, I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to my younger self. I'm talking to my present self, even to remember and integrate and embody these realizations. And everything I do shall be, I mean, it's very tough ideal, but shall be surrounded by the value of truth, because truth is my highest value, and that includes honesty, that includes authenticity, that includes the relative as well as the absolute sense of truth. It's the most important thing for me. I don't know why it is, but not many people do value truth. But as you said, it's such a nice nice thing. Truth. I can't imagine doing anything else with my life than just to pursue truth. So I want to be the actual embodiment of truth, because I like so easy just, and I still recognize I am still falling into self-deception and illusion and delusion and identification. That's why I might contradict myself, and I might change my point of views as I develop on this journey. About the cannabis things, it depends on the individual. Everyone is different, and some of us may marry a plant that others would fall off their journeys with, if you get my point, for example. Yes, absolutely. I agree. Have you considered going fully abstinent from all drugs? Yes and no. No. For now, not. Like, I mean, for a period of time, yes, I feel like it's great to be completely off of all drugs, whatever drugs even are. You know, is that tea a drug? Is that coffee a drug? Is that water a drug? Is that, you know, what is drugs? Is a breathwork session a drug? I have considered it maybe once, but not really followed up on that. Sometimes I'm sober. I love to have sober periods, which might extend to weeks or months. But I have not considered going fully abstinent from drugs for the rest of my life. No. DMT Infinity is saying, wouldn't take cannabis away from Snoop Dogg. Just like I wouldn't go give cannabis to someone who only gets high and eats junk food and watches TV all day. Yeah, I agree. Jay is also agreeing. Cannabis is the lifeblood of my inspiration. Terrence Ham McKenna. Or the Terrence Ham McKenna, as I call him. Yes, that's funny. I think also he said, another quote of his was, cannabis shall be the glue of the community, or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah, cannabis is the lifeblood of my inspiration. That's beautiful, if that's the case. But also careful, you know, it's easy. At least for me, it was easy to fall into junk food and watching TV while engaging in a lot of cannabis. Same goes with any other thing, you know, it's this sensation of addiction and dependency. Like, are you depending on the cannabis for your creativity, for your inspiration, for building a great life for yourself, for intellectual stimulation, for self-love, for whatever else the cannabis is providing? Because that resource is ultimately within yourself. I've had a similar thing recently with rape. I've used rape too much. I kind of replaced my cannabis addiction with the rape addiction, and used it and became dependent on it for this short release and this sense of relaxation. And the nicotine was a powerful force behind that. So I had to stop. I recently stopped, like at the beginning of the year. So to break that dependency and that addiction, I'm very careful with that. Not a name is saying, I think maybe the AI training on you can help keep you afloat on YouTube. Maybe if it finds you valuable, just find AI third-party training YouTube on Google. Alright, I think most likely it's based on reports of people who think children and adolescents are going to mimic your behavior with pipes and smokes. I'm always surprised YouTube has you guys up and censored. Yeah. Jays with Jays, I started my cannabis consumption when I was 16. Helped me go to sleep. Yeah, I started as well when I was 15 or 16. It helped me actually become more confident, less paranoid, more confident within my own being. It inspired me, and it inspired a great awe within nature and life, and a great, I don't know, love for life, and a great seeing through the game structure of culture and our educational system and school, and it made me a rebel and helped me to really like discover that authentic self-expression, and also to see that sense and cultivate that sense of humor, as I mentioned in the beginning. There's like wonderful sense of humor, and there's like not taking things too seriously, because when I was high, it was like, nothing mattered anymore. THC inspires and motivates my art, is DMT is saying, and DMT Infinity is saying. I vowed when I was 12 years old, when I first started consuming THC, that I would never consume a substance that made me unproductive. Beautiful. Another name is saying, I'm guessing when AI companies train on you, they will form a more advanced computational signature of you in the overall data code. I thought they will scan all content, but no, we have to allow. Alright, great. Okay guys, I'm gonna stop this live stream. It's getting late. I really have to be, and I really enjoyed this time with you. So let's sing a song more. What kind of funny song can we sing? Let us remember that our life is a wheel of prayer. It's one of my favorite mantras. Let us remember the truth, that basically our name is truth. And that everything we do shall be a prayer. I think I was reading it in the Bible recently. I was at a Sunday sermon, and they talked about like this, I don't know, they have a verse of the year sometimes. And it's not the verse of the year, but a couple like phrases before that, it said, what did it say? Basically, God is demanding that we shall be joyful in each and every moment. It's our duty to be filled with joy. Like we are obligated to do that. To be joyful in every single moment. And then it said, let every moment of your life be a prayer. Let that sink in. Let every moment of your life be a prayer. Again, it's a wonderful practice of self-inquiry and contemplation to realize and recognize, what does prayer mean to me? What is prayer? What is prayer? What is prayer? But I love that word, and I'm not going to disclose and say what it means for me. That's a whole deep conversation on its own. But what does prayer mean to you? It doesn't have to be religious, it doesn't have to be Christian, but the prayer in and of itself, I find a very beautiful notion. And one of my principles, one of my ideals and aims and ambitions is to be in a state of awareness where every moment of my life is a prayer. Because that's a deep connection to the divine. That's a deep connection to myself and to life. So let all our lives be a wheel of prayer. Let every moment of our lives be a wheel of prayer. Let my life be a wheel of prayer. I don't know who wrote this mantra or who wrote this song, but I like to share it. It says, let my life be a wheel of prayer. Satnam, Satnam, Satnam. Let my life be a wheel of prayer. Satnam, Satnam, Satnam. Let my life be a wheel of prayer. Let my life be a wheel of prayer. Let my life be a wheel of prayer. Satnam, Satnam, Satnam. Truth is my holy name. Satnam, Satnam, Satnam. Truth is my holy name. Satnam, Satnam, Satnam. Truth is my holy name. Truth is my holy name. Truth is my holy name. Satnam, Satnam, Satnam. Let my life be a wheel of prayer. Satnam, Satnam, Satnam. Let my life be a wheel of prayer. Satnam, Satnam, Satnam. Let my life be my wheel of prayer. Let my life be a wheel of prayer. Let my life be a wheel of prayer. Satnam, Satnam, Satnam. Truth is my holy name. Satnam, Satnam, Satnam. Truth is my holy name. Satnam, Satnam, Satnam. Truth is my holy name. Truth is my holy name. Truth is my holy name. Satnam, Satnam, Satnam. It's one of my favorite mantras, one of my favorite things is this sensation of Satnam. Satnam, it's originating from Sikhism. It's part of the Mool mantra, the root mantra of Sikhism, which is saying, the first two lines are basically summarizing the whole stream of thought and that what we might call spiritual tradition or religion. And it says, Ik Oankar Satnam. Ik is meaning one. Oankar is that creation. So basically it's saying that the one is in all of creation. There is only one universal creator God. There is only one God in creation. And then Satnam means his name, or the name is truth. The name is truth. I like that name for God. If we might call it the universe, if we might call it God, if we might call it Shiva or Parabrahman or Brahman or Christ or whatever it is, but I like the Satnam. Sat means truth and Nam means name. That the name is truth. And you are that, that's what the Upanishads are saying. Tat Swamasi, thou are that, meaning you are of divine nature. You are Godhead. There is no separation between you and the One. And that's how our practice and our spiritual practice and psychedelic practice can bring us to that state of union with the Absolute, with the One, with that realization of truth, with the identification of the One that is at the same time beyond and infused in all of existence. In that sense, thank you, everybody. May you recognize that your name is truth, the name is truth, and that there is only one universal creator God. I think in Sikhism they even say it as a greeting, instead of saying like namaste, or instead of saying hey, Namaste meaning basically, right, the divine in me is recognizing the divine in you, I think. In the Sikh and Kundalini yoga circles, they say Satnam as a greeting. So Satnam, everybody, and have a wonderful rest of your